Mason Plumlee is coming off an injury-riddled season, but can the 34-year-old vet offer more to the backup center position than people are expecting? I'm Gerald Bourguet, and on day 10 of our Suns season previews, we're going to be talking about Plumlee and a few specific areas where he can help this Suns bench. Last year, Plumlee was sidelined for 2 months in the middle of the season due to a sprained MCL. It definitely impacted his production, as he only averaged 5.3 points and 5.1 rebounds per game on 57% shooting. But even in a down year, Plumlee showcased a few specific skills that can really help this Suns team. As a 6'10" big with a chiseled 250-pound frame, Plumlee sets the same type of bone-crunching screens that Jusuf Nurkic brings to the starting lineup. And he's also capable of slipping the screen to provide that vertical lob threat at the rim. Unlike Nurk, he's a better finisher around there too. According to Cleaning the Glass, which filters out garbage time, Plumlee had shot 70% or better at the rim for 5 straight seasons until last year's injury-riddled campaign. And even then, he was still at 66% and ranked in the 95th percentile in points per possession as the roll man. Even when he's not directly involved in a ball screen, Plumlee is a lob threat on the baseline and in the dunker spot. He loves a good reverse dunk, most of the time just because, and who doesn't love a good reverse dunk? That type of vertical spacing will help whenever he shares the court with the big three and all the shooters on the roster. Plumlee isn't as spry these days as he was during his prime years in Denver, but the good news is he'll be reuniting with Monte Morris, who played with him for 3 years on the Nuggets. They built great pick-and-roll chemistry during their time there for some highlight alley-oops, but even simple feeds like this will more than suffice. Assuming Morris and Plumlee start the season as the backup point guard center combination, Plumlee still has more than enough hops to capitalize on their familiarity together.
Me and Mason, we had a great run in Denver. Threw him a lot of lobs. And he knows how to get me open, and I feel like we communicate with our eyes. I feel like we played together 3 years, and it was a high-level 3 years.
Some of my best years were playing with Monte, so excited to get back with him.
He would hit me on a lot of backdoor cuts and things like that, but he's a better person, also than a player. And I'm excited to get back out there with him.
He's just a really smart player and someone that makes the game make sense for everybody that he's playing with.
Plumlee isn't limited to simple screens and dives though. Like Nurk and Oso Ighodaro, Plumlee is a solid playmaking big who can serve as a connector on the perimeter or from the elbows, especially when hitting backdoor cutters with skillful bounce passes. According to the B-Ball Index, Plumlee ranked in the 84th percentile in role-adjusted assists per 75 possessions and the 88th percentile in passing creation quality. But Plumlee's playmaking extended to the short roll as well, which is one area where the Suns have seen Drew Eubanks and DeAndre Ayton short circuit in those same situations. Plumlee knows how to put pressure on the low man when he catches the ball there, using one power dribble to force that defender to help before either dumping it off to the open man in the dunker spot or kicking it out to an open three-point shooter. It's worth noting that Plumlee has no shooting range. In fact, he didn't make a single shot outside of the paint last year. But that passing ability in the short roll will be useful on a Suns squad with 3 stars who will be trapped and blitzed in the pick and roll, especially with all the shooters that Plumlee will have around him on the perimeter.
There's shooting everywhere. You spoke about the 3 guys, but Grace and Royce, there are just so many weapons that can space the floor. So, just making sure you get them the ball where they want it and when they want it.
One last note on the offensive end before we move on to the defensive side of the ball. Mason Plumlee is a persistent presence on the offensive glass. He ranked in the 85th percentile on offensive boards per 75 possessions and the 81st percentile in putbacks per 75 possessions. Plumlee doesn't even need to jump out of the gym on most of these. He's got great timing on his crashes to the rim, gets good positioning because he's difficult to move, has solid stationary bunnies, and shows pretty great touch on some of these tip-ins without even needing to bring the ball back down. Defensively, there will be some similar problems to when Nurk is on the floor. Watching Mason defend in the pick and roll or move around in rotations, he's not exactly the most fleet-footed guy, and guards and wings will try to take advantage of him on switches. A Mason Plumlee closeout on the perimeter also necessitates sound rotations just because it'll usually result in a blow-by. With that being said, Plumlee is a willing, frequent deterrent around the rim. In fact, no one contested more shots at the rim last year on a per 75 possessions basis than Plumdog. Obviously, Plumlee is not the best rim protector, as his 0.4 blocks per game last year and 0.8 blocks per game for his career can attest. But holding opponents to 6% worse shooting at the rim than they'd normally shoot, all while contesting that many shots, is still pretty impressive. Mason stays and plays after pump fakes and on second chance opportunities, with his roots firmly planted in the paint and limbs swatting at shots like he's the Whomping Willow. Mason may have more competition for that backup center spot than expected, especially with the way that Oso Ighodaro is looking. But to start the season, Mike Budenholzer will probably lean more towards experience, and to that end, Plumlee was a solid pickup on a vet minimum deal. Thanks for watching today's Sun season preview. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube, listen to the PHNX Suns podcast every day at 3 p.m., go check out my written content over at gophnx.com, and check back right here tomorrow for our next season preview on Royce O'Neal.